Welcome to Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. We are excited that you are here. Bubba, I mean, this man that we interviewed today plays such a big role in Rick and Bubba history. He's been with us really and has produced some of the most historic Rick and Bubba moments in our history. I guess he said 98, and that's when we came to we came to Birmingham in 98, though. He came on up to Gadsden one time. I think you're going to exceed 98.
Yeah, I think he was up there pushing something once upon a time before that. But, of course, we're talking about Gene Hallman, who is the executive director and presidente of the Bruno Event Team. Gene, welcome to the Rick and Bubba University.
It's good to be here. How long have you guys been doing the podcast?
Podcast has been
Adler, what do you think?
Adler, how long do you think we've been doing this podcast here?
We got to be right about 150 episodes.
We're about 120.
120, so you're just now getting to me, huh?
That's right.
That was my point.
Well,
I was there
busy
from the beginning.
You've been busy.
Number 121 on our list, Gene Hallman.
We're down to, guys, anybody thinking, what about Hallman? No. So we'll tell everybody, because the thing about these podcasts and with all the different platforms the show's on now, there are people that may be being introduced to you for the first time. I've talked to people before that their only Rick and Bubba experience they have is the podcast, and I try to tell them about the rest of it, and they basically said, I think I'm going to give you 45 minutes, and we'll see about the rest of it. But tell everybody what is it that you do?
Run sporting events,
right.
Manage them from the beginning to the end with all the components in between, sell tickets, get the volunteers, sell sponsorships, do the operations and logistics, traffic, parking, soup to nuts for a wide variety of sports. It's very interesting. We work all over the country. We have 70 employees, 9 offices, including one in Bermuda. We'll talk about that in a second. But
I think that goes back to the resume I was mentioning.
That's probably a tough one to go fire the troops up with.
So it's been a blessing. It's absolutely God's hand in my life to take me from where I wanted to be in this business and didn't know a soul to where I am today, and it's been a remarkable experience.
Talk a little bit about landing in Birmingham, because we always joke that you're the king of all marketing, and if Gene's not in it, it ain't happening. But when you came to Birmingham from South Carolina, you knew nobody. Tell us about day one.
Well, I moved here on a Saturday after Thanksgiving. And I came from South Carolina, and I felt like I was up to speed on sport, but I came in and parked at the Residence Inn on Highway 280. I went to a grocery store. There was no one in there. And I'm like, this is weird. It was such a nice grocery store. It was the Bruno Supermarket, which was the title sponsor of our golf tournament to be held the next year for the first time. And I remember walking around the grocery store going, why? Nobody's in here. Went back to my hotel room, turned on the TV, and the Iron Bowl was on.
Oh, buddy.
That's how out of sync I was with the local community.
With the culture.
Yeah.
So even in South Carolina, which is not exactly the other end of the earth from Alabama, and we tell people this all the time, and you now say that, they think they understand the Auburn, Alabama thing. But they don't.
You don't. I really thought
from South Carolina, you didn't.
I thought South Carolina Clemson was comparable until I moved here, and then I laugh at that now.
Right, and that's a pretty fierce rivalry.
It is.
Yeah. So what happened though? Like I'm always interested in this. That's why I love doing the podcast now, because you get to do these kind of things. I know back when I was a child, Bubba when he was a child, we had childhood interest in what we now do for a living. Did you? I mean, did you aspire to be into sports marketing event?
It was a different. That's a great question. It was a different path for me, Rick. I went to undergraduate school, then I went to graduate school, and the primary reason I went to graduate school is because I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I kept just trying to drag it out,
buying time,
and waiting for an epiphany. And then I went into the corporate world, into the computer world with a Fortune 100 company, got promoted to their headquarters in Ohio, was there 5 years, but a article in Sports Illustrated came out in 1989 about IMG, which is the original sports marketing event company formed back in the early 60s. I read that article, put it down. I said, there's the epiphany. That's what I want to do. Right then. And I knew a professional golfer. I went to see him. He said, you can be my agent. So I hung out my shingle, moved back home with my parents at age 30, paid them rent, borrowed money from my friends and other sources, and did that for a year and a half, and realized this is too tough to be a solo act in this land of giants. And so I heard about this golf tournament starting in Birmingham, with the title sponsor being Bruno's. I cold called, got an interview, got the job, moved here without knowing a single person.
No one.
No one.
And you weren't going to introduce yourself to anyone on Iron Bowl Day.
No, no. I felt really stupid when I turned it on and saw they were at Legion Field. And
yeah. So, Gene, the golf tournament had already been scheduled to start before you got in.
Yes, they had agreed.
That's what drew you here, though.
Yeah, they were looking for a staff, so they just agreed to do it. Bruno Supermarket to be the title sponsor, and the senior PGA Tour was so hot at the time with Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus playing that the first date that they could get that was open was August.
Oh,
opposite the PGA Championship.
And hot.
Hot, hot, hot. And so we made the announcement, went about our business, worked really hard. Great first year, very successful. 3 years down the road, Bruno's sold. They remained our title sponsor, and their CEO and president became my business partner. We started Bruno Event Team, and we've been in the business since 1995 of doing events other than the golf tournament. That's when we branched out. Yeah. We did Olympic soccer, SEC baseball tournament, and other events.
When you start branching out, though, you've never done that before. How do you pull that off, not knowing what you're doing the first time?
Well, it kind of goes back to when you started in the golf day. You didn't know what you were doing.
You know what? I'd never been to a senior PGA Tour event when I became the tournament director of one. It's what you guys did. It's what a lot of people do when they pursue a passion. You figure it out as you go along, and you work hard, and you surround yourself with very good people. It sounds so cliche-ish, but it's true. You just do the fundamentals. You work really hard, and things tend to work out.
No, it's funny you said that, because the first time I was ever given a job to DJ, and I bet you had a similar experience, because I knew this was my passion. The guy asked me, "Do you know how to cue a record?" And I didn't. And I said, "Oh, sure, absolutely." And for the longest, I would just start the other record and time them, because that's what I was doing when I was a little kid at home. And finally, the person who was coming in after me, I saw them go, and I said, "No, you cue it different than I do."
Yeah,
I said it like that. And so, but now when they interviewed me, I knew how to cue it, and then I knew when I get there, I'll figure it out. Is that kind of? I mean, you knew you had.
So
the
did
passion.
you lie like Rick did, Gene?
Yeah, I basically did. I was smoke and mirrors. I remember the first recruiting trip I took to go get players. I see Chichi Rodriguez. I'm frankly kind of nervous. I'm very nervous, and I'm talking to him, and he says, "Hey, Parge, do y'all have a good FBO there in town?" And I went, "FBO?" I said, "Yeah, we got a great one." Yeah. I had no idea what it was. It's a fixed space operators where the private planes fly into. Yeah. And I'm like, "Yeah, we got a bunch of them, Chichi, a bunch of them. We got two." You know?
Well, it is more than one.
Yes.
But, Gene, don't you think, no matter what you're doing, whether you're queuing records, doing what you do, it's about people. And you have to be able to build a rapport with people. And if you can do that, I think you can work in any industry, because the rest of it just becomes the technicality of the job, right?
That's it. At its core, sporting events and business in general, they're all the same. A guy that I really love to listen to, and this is also a cliche, is Nick Saban. If you listen closely to him, and sometimes when you hear him on the surface, you go, "Well, that's just basic stuff he's saying." But if you really listen and pay attention to it, it is all about the fundamentals of how you treat people, your work ethic, attention to detail, and all those things come together and create success in any industry or business.
The system. It's all about the system.
So you get to the Bruno Event Team, you figure it out, y'all do the tournament, it's successful. At this point, are you just like, obviously I know the answer to this because here you sit, and we'll talk about a great honor that you're about to receive, but you knew immediately that this was the right call. I love this. I've got a knack for this. There was never that moment going, "Oh, no, I should have never done this." I mean, I know you have the thing, I may be in over my head or whatever, but at this point, when you have the successful tournament, you're like, "Hey, look, this is what I was made to do."
Yes, but there was always, and still to this day, is this underlying fear of failure,
yeah,
and this uneasiness that it's not going to be good enough, and
right.
I've got to. So I never got too comfortable with the fact that it was my calling. The older I get a little bit more comfortable with it. But that first year after the event was done, I took a deep breath and said, okay, that was great. And then immediately started thinking about next year.
Of course, yeah.
Because I was scared. I was operating from a position of I can't fail. My back's against the wall. I owed money. Mm-hmm. It's like Trevino used to say, pressure is when you have a putt for $10 and you have $5 in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's pressure, and that's how I felt.
Well, we'll come back. We'll talk more about this because now things are rolling, and there's so many ties now to the show and how we met you. And I know folks that follow the show certainly want to hear about the Rick and Bubba historic moments with Gene Hallman, too, as we unpack the life and times of Gene Hallman on this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. All right, so we all know this. If you've dealt with your wife wanting to do some more landscaping around the house. Here we are. It's springtime. I can already see my wife. She can't wait to get over. And the thing that we usually don't like, though, Sherry, before we found this great organization, you would go over to the place where you buy plants and you'd look for this, and they don't have this tree, and I can't find this. And before you know it, the car comes back. There's dirt all over it. And then whatever you have there, you get it out. It takes it forever to ever really look good. And many times it fails.
Yeah, don't make it.
They don't make it. That's why you now are going to appreciate Rick and Bubba because we're pointing you to fastgrowingtrees.com. You are going to love this. They're experts. They have thousands of plant varieties that will thrive in your specific climate, location, and whatever your needs. No waiting in lines. I mentioned no messy cars, no hauling plants from all over town. You simply order online or over the phone, and your plants are shipped to your door in 1 to 2 days. Plus, they're growing in carrot bias, like how I'm going to buy them. I'm not sure what's the best soil, where should I put it, shade, no shade, how much light, wow, too much light. They're available to you 24/7, so they'll answer all those questions. And if you're trying to add some natural beauty to the yard, fast-growing trees, they have the perfect plants and the expertise to help you find them. We love them now. This has made our life so much easier, and it will for you. So plus they have a 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee that you can trust everything will be healthy for years to come. So here's what you need to do. Bubba, this is what we call in our business, Gene, the call to action. Mm-hmm. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com/Bubba right now. We'll get you 15% off your entire order. 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com/Bubba. That's fastgrowingtrees.com/Bubba. Rick and Bubba University, Gene Hallman, our guest.
Gene, I've got to know, you started with golf, you've worked your way out, you've done soccer events, Olympic grade, you've done tennis, world events, you've done game day operations now for a lot of Southeastern Conference schools with their football, which has to be...
Oh, my goodness.
That has to be a huge step in the complexity game. That has to... And you organize all that and work that out for the universities.
Well, we got a call in 2007 from the University of Alabama to come down and take a look at their game day operation. And I'd been there a couple times as a fan, but never really looked at it from a business perspective. And I went down, got in the helicopter with TPD, got an aerial view, rode around, and I said, I think we can make a difference. We put together a game plan. They hired us. We worked very closely with UAPD, the university, and I think we've made a big difference in terms of making it safer, more convenient. The days of fans putting up with 2 and 3 hour drives into a stadium and sort of organized chaos are over because there's so many television options. Back when we were growing up, your team might be on television 2 or 3 times a year. So if you wanted to see them play, you went to the stadium.
Right.
You paid the price. Yeah. That price people are willing to pay to get off the couch has become much lower. And you've got to make that easier for them to get there.
I can't imagine what that because you're right. I have seen you make a difference just going to Alabama games and the others that you work with, because I can tell you I am one of those people. The experience used to be so horrifying the minute it was readily available every single game on TV, and if I don't have a a family member coaching or I don't have a kid playing, I wasn't going to go.
Yeah.
I was just like, I can sit right here and watch the game. But you have, because I have had personal reasons or a game I just want to go see, and it certainly is a much better situation. And but I can't imagine, like, day one, what are you looking for when you're flying up there looking down? What are you seeing? This is inefficient. That's illogical. They shouldn't do it that way. Is that the stuff you're looking at?
Yeah, and
the way a city or flows.
Yeah, and you're putting yourself kind of back in the shoes of the fan. That's the key. And you guys are constantly putting your feet in the shoes of a listener. I'm doing the same thing with someone driving in, a father with his wife and 3 kids screaming in the back seat. Anxiety. I call it driveway anxiety. When they pull out of their driveway, where are you going? Where are you going to park? How are you going to get there?
Am I going to be safe? Can I get there?
Exactly
How far is the wall?
Right. Exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. And if you don't eliminate that anxiety or make it very low, they won't come. A college football attendance as a whole has been on a downward trend for a decade. A lot of people don't realize that. And yeah, the athletic departments are making more money through television rights. But there's that intangible feeling of having that big home crowd, having that stadium full.
The 12th man.
The 12th man. Yeah. And it's become a big concern. And so we've been hired by Auburn. We're doing work for UAB, Alabama State, helping all of those with their game day. And I think we can help more. So if you're an athletic director, please give us a call.
No, really.
Gene is here, and he's ready. Gene, as you learned this process, though, what was the biggest jump or the most eye-opening thing that you had to learn for as the different sports? Was there a point where you learned a lot more about traffic or people, or how did that progress, I guess is what I'm trying to say?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think the biggest learning curve is how our first tournament we did without the internet, cell phones, social media. And
didn't exist.
And people literally cut out coupons out of the newspaper, filled it out, sent a check in to buy tickets. When I tell that to my kids who are 18 and 16, they look at me like I'm a caveman.
Yeah.
So that's the long and short of it is taking that world into this world. And I still feel like I'm chasing the digital stuff because I'm 62 and it's like, what is all this stuff?
Yeah.
And so that's why I hire a bunch of quality young people like your son to help you figure it out.
Well, so to kind of take Bubba's question and expand on it. So I know this has to be true. So now that you're doing so many things, you have to kind of educate and become educated on, all right, I'm dealing with fans of golf. I'm dealing with fans of Indy series. I'm dealing with football fans. I'm dealing with baseball fans.
And there are federations that regulate these sports.
I'm dealing with soccer fans. And, probably one of the most daunting things you ever had to do was approach me about promoting a soccer game.
Communist sport.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
You probably sat there and it says, now I got to go talk to Burgess about it. But what I'm saying is these are all unique fan bases, and you got to design their experience, I would think, differently. Yeah, are there some things that just apply? Are there some things that just apply to everybody?
That's it.
Okay.
Surprisingly, the core of every sport, including dealing with the federations, the personality types are similar. It's not good or bad. It's just what it is. They're more bureaucrats. They deal with rules and compliance. And whether it's the SEC, the NCAA, the USGA, or the PGA Tour, they're similar. They're demanding, as they should be. They're very black and white, as they should be, and that's how you approach it. As far as fans are concerned, it's more or less the same thing across the board. Participants, same thing. They want to be treated. Think about a participant in any sport. They're constantly on the road, so the little things you can do to make their life better and easier between competition rounds, the better off you're going to be, whether it be offering free haircuts, laundry, transportation, better food options, whatever it may be to make their life a little easier on the road.
Well, they love that.
Southern hospitality, that really wins out.
So like in the golf tournament, you are working with the golf course. You're working with homeowners associations around that. You're working with the golf governing body, PGA. But you still got to sell golfers to come to the tournament, right? So you're asking fans to come and you're asking golfers to come, trying to get them to meet in the middle.
Well, you're trying to get members, media, fans, volunteers, participants, the organizing committee, all on the same page, and they all want the same goal, but they all don't get there the same way. So you have to really fit your strategy to that constituency to make sure everybody ends up in the same place. And that's the art of doing a successful event, is you have all these different groups that you got to make happy.
So let's jump into some of the Rick and Bubba experiences. I know some of these are traumatizing. I don't know.
Rolling so good there, Gene.
I don't know. I don't know what year it was. We were still in Gadsden, so it had
1998.
Yeah, and you were told that
by my handler,
well, your handler, that you needed to be on this show to talk about. This time was it MAPS?
MAPS, a referendum to raise the sales tax in Jefferson County here in Alabama to build a dome stadium and some other things added on. And you guys reached with your broadcast into northern Jefferson County, which was a part of the county that was where there was resistance to the tax.
Right.
And my handler said, you got to go on the show. And I'm like, I got to drive all the way to Gadsden?
Right.
And frankly, I'd never heard of you guys. So about halfway there, I tune you in because I couldn't get you from Birmingham.
Right.
And I said, oh, my gosh. And I could feel the energy. I'm just being honest, through the radio.
Right.
I get there, and it's a cinder block building with a dirt parking lot. Kid you not.
Yeah.
And I see Speedy in the hallway, and he starts jumping up and down saying, he's here, he's here, he's here. And I walk in, we all hug like we've known each other forever, and within 10 minutes, we had our pants down. True story.
Yeah, well, let me explain that.
Yeah, I need to explain that.
Yeah, so we had, the bit that really was most instrumental in the show becoming the Rick and Bubba Show was a bit called Good Old Boy Theater. And that's when Bubba does the Shakespeare and people guess. And so we had a version of it that was called Pantsless Good Old Boy Theater. And we would all sit around in our underwear and do it. And you
had to drop trowel.
You had to drop trowel. So that's what happened. And I will give you credit. You were like, oh gosh, you were very accommodating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how could I not be? It was peer pressure.
But tell people how tiny that studio was. I mean, you were sitting on what was a van seat, right?
We were elbow to elbow, pantless. Yeah. A little bit uncomfortable. I don't know these guys. And
did you think to yourself, I don't know that I want MAPS to pass this bad?
Well, honestly, I left there. You guys were so gracious. You were within Birmingham within a year. Truly, I knew from the get-go you guys were going to be wildly successful because, I mean, the show is just so unique and creative, and you guys have been great partners.
Well, and then you did invite us to the Pro-Am at that point.
The first year you didn't make
it. We didn't play. We just
came. You didn't make it the first year.
Not even the broadcast.
Not even the broadcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, first year I had to kind of just feel things out a little more.
Because now we're a new brand.
Yeah.
Which means some of your established relationships weren't thrilled.
Right.
About this new thing that was coming. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then you finally, and really, if you think about it, from their point of view. When you finally let us come, everything that they thought would happen, it happened.
Plus more.
Yeah, everything they were warning you about, they'll come down here, they'll try to take the thing over, they'll be loud, they'll attack the other shows, and we did all that.
Oh, and more. The PGA Tour, I never told y'all this. They said they cannot come back next year. I just ignored them. And
they'd forget in a year.
They did, but they said they can't come back. They were too disruptive.
We were firing Nerf rockets onto the other stuff. We were singing.
Well, Rick, we had the high ground. Yeah, we had the high ground.
Yeah, we were up high and we were firing.
Well, the thing is, golf is a quiet sport.
It is.
The golf clap and
you have to
serene.
And
it was a Pro-Am day, but still, it was like Animal House came to Greystone.
It was, and I remember this. God rest his soul, because he's passed on now. The other shows were getting upset. It was Andy Spinozzi who looked at the guys that he was doing the show with, and they were upset because the Nerf rockets were coming down, and we're doing all this stuff. And
Rick, we couldn't help they were in range.
And we're really taking over the Pro-Am broadcast. I mean, let's just call it. And you know what he said? He said, they are doing it right. This is what Birmingham radio was at one time when it was wildly successful.
Right.
Because there used to be, I don't know if you weren't here then, but there used to be phenomenal shows that were on everywhere that were super creative with highly talented people, and most of them then went on to even bigger markets.
Right.
But it kind of gotten kind of mundane when all the big corporations bought and everybody just let's all be calm and read.
It became very formatted.
It did, very formatted. You got it.
Cookie cutter.
So you knew that. Well, we really were doing what Birmingham radio was at one time in the past with Mark and Brian and Bert and Kurt and
TC
and John Ed and all this. So anyway,
Cody Calhoun.
Yeah, he recognized, Spinozzi did.
Frank Jardina.
And then of course us. He walks up the hill and says, "Can I come on the air with you?" We're like, "Sure, come on." He gets on the air with us, and he's on a competing show. We don't care. I mean,
I think they had sent him up there to try to calm us down, and he said, "Hey, can I go on the air with you guys?" And he thought we would say no way because you just didn't let people from other. And we said, "Oh yeah, come on. we know rules. You, man. You're a legend. We want." And he gets on and says, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I'm from Rock 99," and he expected us to jerk him off. Yeah. We're like, "Yeah, man, you do a great job." And so then he started kind of getting into it too, having fun.
And when that show finally went away, he started coming on with us as a character and started doing stuff for us. So, all right, we'll come back, and we got to talk about the one big moment that happened.
Yes,
we got to talk about.
Well, there are many, but that's the biggest.
Yeah, it is the most remembered Rick and Bubba historic moment that happened involving Gene Hallman when Rick and Bubba University. The podcast continues. All right, let's get down to it, Bubba. Matter of fact, you and I have been talking about this because you do term life insurance. And you're like, okay, when I pass, this is how much I want my family to get. Okay, you don't want to get complicated about it. And so anyway, if you try to do that now, especially at our age, oh boy, I mean it can be problematic.
Yes, it can.
Well,
you can have all kind of trouble.
Well, this is why I want to introduce you to Ladder, LADDER. It is 100% digital. There's no doctors, there's no needles, there's no paperwork. Now listen to this number because you think I'm about to give you a really low number. I'm not. If you apply for $3 million in coverage or less, $3 million, okay, then you just answer a few questions about your health in the application. You just need a few minutes and a phone or a laptop to apply, and then Ladder's smart algorithms work in real time, and they'll find out if you're instantly approved. It'll be done. So there's no hidden fees. Cancel anytime you want. Get a full refund if you change your mind in the first 30 days. Now, their policies are issued by insurers with long proven histories of paying claims. They're rated A and A+ by AM Best, 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot, and they made Forbes' Best Life Insurance 2021 list. So why don't you get this done now? Because the bottom line, don't you just want to know that if you pass away, that your family's going to get the money?
That's what you want.
That's it.
Peace of mind.
So go to ladderlife.com/Rick Bubba, and they will make what has been too complicated a simple process. Ladderlife.com/Rick Bubba, LADDER life.com/Rick Bubba. All right, so Gene Hallman.
We want to let everybody know, too, we did not have an eclipse during that break. That was just Gene walking in front of the camera.
That's all right. Gene,
I forgot.
You walked right in front of that one.
Oh, my gosh. I'm a rookie.
Gene, you're better than that.
I know Adler will want to edit that out, but I think it's funny.
Say no. I say
let
leave
her
it.
fly.
I say leave it. Yeah. All right, so do you remember the year of the incident?
2001.
Yeah, he does. So you're letting us come back even though the PGA didn't want us.
And y'all quickly became the #1 show in town.
Yes, and praise God for that.
Well, can I ask you this? Are we talking about Speedy streaking,
yes.
or are we talking about when we were training dogs to retrieve golf
Speedy
balls?
streaking was first.
Yeah,
and then the trained dogs was next.
Right. It's
Chihuahuas.
Think about what we're saying. Dachshund. That's what it was. It was.
They were very good.
They were good. That's when we tried. You were gonna ban us from the PGA.
Oh yes,
and so
that was serious.
It was. So,
you're messing with the competition then.
Right. So anyway, we're on the air, and we started saying we're raising money for Bruno's and all their charities. It's now Regions, and they do give a lot of money to great charities. So one of the things we thought we could raise more money is if we got people to hit a certain amount of money, and Speedy said if they did, or we could find it out there on the live on location, because I think people would just bring cash. I hate to tell you what this really is if you think about it, but Speedy said he would streak across the driving range to where everybody is practicing. Not the driving range. Is it called the practice?
Yeah, driving range. You're right. Yeah.
And he would run, and that means that's all your golfers that are getting warmed up.
And the head football coach at the University of Alabama at the time, Mike DeBose.
That's right.
He was warming up.
I can still see Mike DeBose's face.
Yeah.
And now I will tell you this: Speedy claims, you might want to correct this and get on the record. Speedy claims, again, this is his claim, that the phrase that made him commit to doing it was he said, Gene, are you going to get mad? Is it okay? He claims, I said claim, you can clear your name today, that he thought he heard you say it's okay.
He is technically correct.
I was standing there.
But I didn't know what the question was. I got pulled over. You guys were in the middle of it. He's staged in the trees. I didn't know that.
He's ready to go.
And you're like, win, place, or show. Am I good to go? And I'm like, sure.
So you didn't know what you were committing to?
I really didn't.
What Rick, about that's Gene's cover over the years, and let's just leave it at that.
Well, that's why I'm giving you an opportunity to clear your name. You didn't know what you were saying yes to.
I really didn't.
You were
See, by him saying yes, but not knowing what he was saying yes to, we're both covered.
That's correct.
So to speak. Now, Speedy was not covered.
Yeah, so
it caused Speedy to be uncovered.
Speedy, he streaks.
Folks, this is probably 200 yards.
Oh, yeah.
From tree line to tree line, one end of the range, one side of the range to the other. So he went sideways.
If you're out there practicing for your round, whether you're the celebrity or golfer, you see him.
Oh, yeah.
You see him.
He is digging with his black shoes on.
And he's digging.
Shoes and socks were the only thing that he had on.
Right.
And he dropped his underwear about halfway and had to go back and
get it.
Yeah.
So now we need to hear on this exclusive interview with Gene Hallman, what did that do to your life that day?
It was chaotic. I mean, I think the funniest thing is I went down to the driving range, and Coach DeBose pulled me aside, and he looked at me in his country draw, and he said, "You know that boy was naked." I said, "Yeah, Coach, I found that out after the fact."
Yeah.
And then if you remember, we had the local weather incident where 33-40.
Oh, yes. They decided they'd be first to show it on TV, and they put it in slow motion without watching it.
And without watching it. And it was like, whoops.
Yeah.
So that was, that helped amplify and complicate the situation.
Yeah. They probably should have watched it one time before trying to be first.
And it just kept growing. And by the end of the day, it was Speedy ran all 18 holes naked. I mean, it just grew and grew.
Before you knew it, there were streakers all over the place.
And then the PGA Tour said, absolute no way can these guys come back.
This is now the second time they've said
Second time you've been banished for life.
And you just kept having us back.
Yeah, I just kept ignoring it because I knew.
Right. Did they ever say? Would you even just say, "Yeah, I'll look into it"? Or
Rick, a year's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
People forget.
So what made us do the thing with the dogs? Because you were not going to let us come.
I think were we banned, or was that when we were trying to get into play? I can't remember.
You were trying to be part of the promotional plan. So I was promoting the celebrities that were coming.
Okay.
Yeah. And you guys weren't on the list.
Yes.
Because I was trying to be, careful of the rest of the media.
Was that now? That was the year. No, it was the very first year we came that we went on there and did the list of people we outrank.
Yes.
You remember that?
Right.
We did a whole. When we just would run the list and say we outrank them. That
in our mind.
Yeah, in our mind.
It'd be like a marginal country singer. We're bigger than they are.
Right.
And
other Birmingham.
I couldn't disagree.
Right. So we threatened and people who had dogs that would go get golf balls.
I had no idea there was that many dogs that were trained to retrieve golf balls in the area.
Dachshunds at that.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Well, and they're so fast when they go get them.
So have people ever asked you, based on these things we just said, I know you get a lot of promotion for those guys. Are they worth it?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time, but I quickly say yes. But I'll be honest. That was the scariest you guys ever made me were the Dachshunds.
More so than the streaking?
Oh, totally. Because I knew the Dachshunds were coming. Okay, the streaking, I didn't know what I was agreeing to. Right. And when you start messing with competition, and you're going to do it during the Pro-Am, but still these amateurs pay all this money to play in the Pro-Am, and their balls were going to just be disappearing constantly because these Dachshunds were going to go get them and take them off somewhere.
Right. So you gave in to
when we were training them in the parking lot, we had the tryouts. I think that's when Gene thought it was real.
So I was basically I had to pay the ransom and say, yeah, you guys, I'm going to promote you guys. You're like going to be all world, and back the Dachshunds off, and it worked.
Right. Wait, have you ever had to say to any other media source, now back the Dachshunds off?
No, never.
The Dachshunds are too much.
Right. And I didn't know I agreed to someone streaking. We got to be the only guys you have fun with that have those kind of issues.
Well, yeah, and so let's talk about the IndyCar event at Barber. So I announced the fact that you guys are going to be our Grand Marshal.
Oh, yes.
And the very esteemed gentleman who built this beautiful facility and donated over $100 million to build the Barber Motorsports
It's a very nice facility.
Yeah, was concerned that the show following might be too lowbrow for the crowd that we were trying to bring to the IndyCar event. And he said to me, they'll probably show up in shorts to wave the green flag. And so I was concerned, and I had a serious conversation with Bubba. I thought it was just between he and I. Next thing you know, he's talking about it on there. And on the day of the race, instead of shorts, Bubba's in a suit and tie.
That is correct.
That was a good one.
That was. And you kept thinking we were coming in shorts.
Oh yeah, I just knew it. Flip flops and a t-shirt.
Well, that's what Barkley. Hot. It was kind of warm.
That's what Barkley wore. See, he was the year preceding you guys, and that's what he wore.
Yeah, but so he had a big enough name. It didn't matter what he had on, really.
Right.
Yeah, and is that basically what we're saying here?
Well, yeah.
I agree. All right, let's come back.
Thanks, Gene. I appreciate it.
We got a few more minutes, and we'll wrap up this edition of Rick and Bubba University when we come back. All right, Tommy John. Bubba, you got your Tommy Johns on today?
Oh, I love my Tommy Johns.
Tommy Johns.
And I don't mean shoulder surgery.
Well, let me tell you, they're the most comfortable underwear that you wear, or they're going to say that they're free. That's how committed they are, because let's face it, most men, nobody puts any effort into what we wear as far as underwear, and we think, well, this is the underwear we're stuck with the rest of our lives. But I'm going to tell you what, Tommy Johns, we say this all the time on the show, men and women are equal, but they're distinct. No matter what the world may say, there is a distinct difference between how God made men and women. And so when it comes to designing things for men and women, you do have to have a different design. And Tommy Johns were one of the first ones to say, well, let's make underwear that fit men the way they were made. And let me tell you, that hammock pouch underwear makes it a lot more comfortable. It does. They've got the moisture wicking technology, so it helps you stay dry. The legs never rot up, and you never have to worry about the rolling waistband. They fit beautifully, and they don't have customers. They've got fanatics. So let me tell you, they've sold over 17 million pair, and men all across America love Tommy John underwear, and so do we. Did you know it's Tommy John's anniversary month? So whether you're trying them for the first time or you've been a long-time fan like us, you can get 25% off site-wide right now at TommyJohn.com/RickBubba. That's TommyJohn.com/RickBubba, 25% off site-wide. And remember, they're either the most comfortable pair you've ever worn or they're free. We're back with Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. Bubba, we got just maybe 7 more minutes or so with Gene Hallman.
Well, there's so much more to cover that we're not going to get to. But, Gene, I really enjoyed working with you when you brought the Fed Cup to Birmingham and dealing with the USTA. That was great to see you in action. I got to work a little closer and watch Gene in action on that one, Rick. And it was Rick, a thing of beauty.
What we did is we brought the Davis Cup to town. It was Switzerland versus the U.S. Roger Federer agreed to compete, coming to Birmingham, Alabama. We formed a tennis committee of volunteers to help us sell tickets to the grassroots of the tennis community. Bubba's on that committee.
Oh, yes.
So I had to put up a lot of money, guarantees, financial guarantees, pay for the facility. It was a risky proposition, even those big names, because the USTA wanted a large sum of money. So I'm nervous. I'm sweating the financials. And the day before the Davis Cup begins, we had a newspaper at the time, Birmingham News, headline article with a big photograph, Bubba Bussy brings the Davis Cup to Birmingham. He hijacked the whole thing.
Well, I can thank you two for that little dandy.
Well, the face of tennis.
Yeah.
Was he not, honestly, let's just get real for a minute.
Oh, it's true.
He played a key role in that being successful.
Totally.
Rick's favorite part of that, Rick, Gene, was when we actually had a show on the road. It was in Panama City.
You flipped the switch with him. I've never seen flip.
And we have to fly in and out on the morning of the broadcast. It's just cheaper to do that than carry the whole staff and meals and travel. But we had a meeting. We had the USTA people coming into town, and we had a lunch meeting that day. So we had to break down in Panama City, get back here. I had to get a suit on and be at the club on the mountain for noon. And I got there. I walked in right at noon. But Rick claimed it was the strangest event I ever did.
Gene, have you ever let me put you. There's a lot of things that put you in a very elite place. I know of no one in the history of the Rick and Bubba Show that could tell Bill Bubba Bussey, I have a meeting concerning a promotion that I need you to be at on a day we're on the road in another state. So as soon as you get back, after getting up even earlier than you normally have to get on the plane and get down there and get set up.
Yeah, very early.
As soon as you hit the ground back in Alabama, I need you to come in a suit, please, to a lunch. I can only name one person in the history of this show that has ever got that done, and that is Gene Hallman. That alone, you deserve this honor that you're about to get.
Well, to be honest, on the other end, we, the United States Tennis Association now, and the players were like, "Where's Bubba? Where's Bubba?" And he walked in. Bubba's here.
I really believe.
True story.
I believe if they told Bubba, and I know he loves me. It's not a dig. I believe if they told Bubba just his limitations that he has. Okay, we all have limitations. I believe if they said
more than ever,
we realized Rick was getting worse during the show today. We think he is seriously ill. The minute this plane lands, you need to drive him to the hospital downtown Birmingham. He said, "Speedy, can you do that?" I mean, because we've been doing the show all morning. I got up so early. Rick hopefully will be okay. But it's not that I don't want to and I don't care. I just can't do that.
I think if Betty were in labor at the hospital, he would tell the doctor not to induce labor, to slow it down so he could go to the press conference.
Just hold on. Hold on.
You've gotten him involving in tennis, only tennis. You've gotten him to do things involving in tennis that I've never seen. They're historic.
It's quite remarkable. It really is.
The Davis Cup event was very successful, followed up by the Fed Cup.
Yeah, U.S. versus Russia, and we played that up.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got it now. Oh, yeah. You didn't sweat that second one.
No, I didn't.
You got it now.
We actually had three. And all three went.
That's right.
The first one you didn't know.
I didn't know.
But after that, once you got the face, you were done.
Well, the players. Hey, there's Bubba. I mean, Andy Roddick, most famous American player at the time. Hey, there's Bubba.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say this before.
Y'all got me in so much trouble over that.
Before we wrap up, you really
people who actually worked
right
didn't appreciate the comedy of that.
You have played a major role in this part of the country. The things you've done to cast this wonderful place that a lot of people don't know about, the best kept secret of where we actually live. And the things that and I know you do things all over the country, and other people benefit from you. But a lot of you don't know this. We just found out a minute ago. Gene is going to be put into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, which is a great honor. So congratulations on that.
And rightly so.
And rightly so, because the state of Alabama, which I bet when you were living in South Carolina you would never say, my home state. I know that's still South Carolina, but you are truly an Alabamian now. And what you've done for sports and for our state and for the economy, people will never, ever comprehend how much it's impacted the economy and how the city has been able to grow. And some of the things that we were trying to get done sooner, you see some of those finally coming around. And all that has to do with a lot of people, but I know your leadership and what you've done for the state, especially involving the category of sports, has been remarkable and well-deserved. So congratulations on that.
Rick, I don't speak to faith and how God leads a person in their life like you do. I mean, you're a natural. But truly, when I look back over the course of 30 years, it's not a bunch of coincidences.
Sure.
It was God's hand the whole way. And I knew it, but I didn't completely appreciate it until I look back on it. And I'm so grateful because he guided me every step of the way. And it's just emboldened me to speak to faith and how God can lead your life in the right direction if you'll let him.
Yeah.
Let him take the steering wheel, whatever the country song analogy is.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I've been so blessed, and it's people like you guys who've been a big part of the journey.
Well, you having to go between these organizations and government and all make this happen, it takes a special person to pull that off, and you have done a wonderful job at it.
So thanks for always, we certainly respect you and thank you for what you've done, but you also believed in this show when a lot of people didn't, so thanks for that, too.
Thank you, guys. Love you.
Yeah, love you, too. Gene Hallman, thanks to all of you for being with us on this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast.